Hello, I'm Debra Jason with Creative Whispers of the Heart, and it's that time of year for holiday ornaments, or what some people call holiday baubles. In this video, I will demonstrate 3 different techniques that I have used for creating these ornaments. What will you need? Well, of course, ornaments. I use 2.5-inch glass ornaments. Usually I use flat, matte, white ones, but this year I had a hard time finding them in time. I'm delivering some to a retail store, so I ended up with white iridescent ones, and they came out just as nice. You'll also need a solo cup, a blowing tool, and for one of my techniques, I use plastic wrap. And of course, alcohol inks. I'll mention the different colors that I use in this video. So, are you ready? Let's get started, shall we? First, I take a solo cup and mark it with an X using a Sharpie. I cut that out so that I have a hole in the top of my cup, and that's where I'm going to put the ornament. That makes it easy for me to twirl the cup around and get the inks all over the ornament without them getting so much on my hands. You do see I wear gloves anyway. I'm starting with copper. Pour it on my ornament. At this point, not adding any alcohol or Claro extender. And just as you can see, turning the cup so that the ink goes all around the ornament. Adding a little bit more of that copper and spinning my cup. Now I add Claro extender. For this technique, I'm actually using products from Jacquard, Pinata inks and Claro extender. Twirling my cup around, the extender is helping to make that ink spread a little bit more. And now I'm adding brass. This brass is already mixed with some alcohol in that little bottle. And I'm not concerned about the colors blending. I want them to blend. So you can see the copper and the brass go around and around the ornament. It's a pretty simple process. You can see it goes around. And the iridescent ornament is actually kind of cool. You can see how it's glowing. Now I'm going to add some color. This is Sapphire Blue, Pinata Sapphire Blue from Jacquard. I put it down toward the bottom of the ornament and add some Claro extender to thin it out and to help it spread a little easier. I'm assessing what I'm going to do next here, and I decide to add some more Claro extender. I want some blue at the bottom of the ornament. This will actually end up being the top of the ornament once it comes out of the cup. But you can see I just continue to add inks. Look at how the brass blends in with the sapphire blue. Makes it all sparkly. Adding more brass there. And you can see, look, ooh, look how the blue and the brass just blends together. Having the ornament in the cup, as you can tell, makes it much easier to turn the ornament around. And now I'm adding some sapphire blue on the top. It starts to run down the sides, but I turn my cup to the side, add Claro extender, and start to twirl. You can decide how much brass, how much copper, how much color ink you want to use on each ornament. Now I want to get some of that white covered up, so I'm adding more copper. And you don't necessarily need to cover every little spot on the ornament. for these iridescent ornaments, it's nice to have some of that shiny white iridescence coming through. Here's how it's coming along. Some final touches there. I do want to cover up some of those little white spots, so I'm adding copper there and there and there, and letting it just blend in with the brass and with the sapphire blue. And here is how the ornament turns out. Watch it spin. Sapphire blue, brass, and copper, all from Jacquard products. Next, I'm going to do another ornament with some different colors, and I'm going to use a blowing tool. Here's the ornament, and I pour down some Monsoon. This is from Ranger Ink, one of my favorite colors, and I love using this on ornaments because, as you'll see, it ends up looking a little bit like the earth. I've added some alcohol now. Instead of the Claro extender, I'm using some more Monsoon down there on the bottom. And the isopropyl alcohol helps it spread and thins it out a little as I turn the cup around. Putting some there on the top. Adding some more alcohol. And then I'm going to take a blowing tool and spread that ink around with the blowing tool. So with the first ornament, you'll notice I did not use any blowing tools. I just used a solo cup and the inks. But now I'm using the blowing tool to spread the ink some more so that they just don't form lines around the ornament, but they spread. Adding Foundry is always fun with Monsoon. I'm having a little trouble getting it out of the bottle there, but I blow it with the blowing tool. See, there it is close up. And now I want it to spread, so I'm adding alcohol and then blowing it some more. As I mentioned, it's a cool effect when you have Monsoon and Foundry. When I'm done, you'll see what I mean. I think the ornament ends up looking like the planet Earth. Now you can see the ink is coming out there. Much easier than before. So I add some alcohol and blow it with the blowing tool. Woo, look at how it spreads. It's kind of fun using the blowing tool to watch how the ink moves around on the ornament. Blowing it away and spreading it so that the Monsoon and the Foundry blend with one another and create a really beautiful ornament. So here's how it is looking as I twirl the cup around. And here is how the final ornament looks, spinning around. Do you think it looks like the planet Earth? I do. Very cool. So here are the two ornaments that I have painted so far. One without a blowing tool and one with. Now I'm using plastic wrap. It's about 10 inches by 11 inches. Here's another sheet. I lay it down on a paper towel and now I drop down some stream. Just randomly making drops across the plastic wrap. Adding some sterling, and then I decide to add some turquoise in addition to the sterling, but I found that the turquoise looked a lot like the stream, so I went back to stream. Now I take my ornament, oops, not quite yet. I add some more silver, or actually this is sterling. Put my ornament right in the middle of it there. Lift up the plastic wrap and pretty much wrap the ornament with the plastic wrap. I'm moving the plastic wrap around. I don't want it to be smooth. I want it to create patterns, so I'm trying to create little ripples and move the ink up toward the top. I decided I want some more stream in there, so before I seal up my plastic wrap, I drop a few more drops of stream onto the ornament. Just a couple more drops there, and then I wrap it. Twist the plastic wrap around the ornament. Twist, twist. Move the plastic wrap so that I get some ripples, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight. 24 hours later, I unwrap the ornament from the plastic wrap. Here is the big reveal. It's so much fun. Peeling off the plastic wrap, and whoa, look at this. Shiny, hints of stream coming through. They create a beautiful pattern. And here it is, spinning around. I love the patterns that the plastic wrap creates. As I mentioned, let it sit for 24 hours overnight, but it's up to you if you want to wait that long. Here's another one. I decided to do butterscotch. Dripping some butterscotch on the plastic wrap, then adding brass. This time I'm using brass straight out of the bottle, not adding any alcohol to it. And as you could tell, I don't use alcohol at all when I'm using the plastic wrap. Wrapping this ornament. Now I'm moving the plastic wrap to make little ripples and also pushing some of the inks up toward the top of the ornament. See? Push a little bit more of that ink up there if I can. Twist it. Close it up with a little, I don't know what these things are called, twisty. And I'm going to let this sit overnight. 24 hours later, it's time for the big reveal. Peeling off the plastic wrap. And then I have this lovely butterscotch and brass ornament. Look how cool that is. Very sweet, and here it is, hanging up and spinning around. Sweet, don't you think? I hope you'll give one or all three of these techniques a try when painting your holiday ornaments. Here's a quick before in the plastic wrap and after. I hope you'll also follow me on Instagram and check out the Alcohol Ink Art Society for more videos like this. Thanks a million for watching.